Welcome to A Kick Up the Arts. I am Nicola Meehan. If you're a regular listener, you'll know that I record my Scottish Arts and Culture podcast with special guests in fab spaces around the country, carrying my recording equipment on a very heavy rucksack on my back. I try to do the same with my filming equipment from time to time, which is basically my iPhone on a tripod, as you'll see in this DIY video chat with the brilliant poet Hollie McNish. Our latest collection, Virgin, is out this week. It is a blazing, bright, riled love letter to the best of us, which is most of us, in the face of man-made constructs, expectations, blame, shame, and abuses of power. It features mashed potatoes, pomegranates, warm baths, Pornhub comments, rebel yells, kissing trees, butter dishes, and radical hope. I'm also now madly in love with Benny from Accounts, incidentally, but you'll need to read the book to find out why. Now, before I whisk you off to our chat on the sofa, just a quick reminder that this coming Thursday, that is October the 23rd, I'm in Glasgow hosting a night of conversation and live music with Emma Pollock, Amy Duncan, and Joe Mango. That's as part of this year's Scottish Arts Mental Health Festival. It's at Civic House. We would love you to join us. For now, though, to Oran more, to where Hollie kicked off her Scottish tour last night with a sold-out show. We sat down for a blether beforehand for an All Back to Mind special, where Hollie chose us a Scottish book and film and album to chat about. We spoke about love, life, words, power, women, children, masculinity, Shirley Manson, Michael Mullen, roller skates, and Gregory's Girl. You'll also hear nods to wonderful Michael Pedersen, who is performing with Hollie on some of our dates. Now, because she is a best-selling writer and all of that, there was no expense spared when it came to the rider. We drank water in Prosecco glasses from the shower room tap, and we shared a battered old packet of love hearts that I dug out of my jacket pocket.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Nice though.
Right, we are recording. We have got our Prosecco. I've just found these.
Oh, nice.
Love hearts. Do you want one?
Yeah, I'd love one, thanks.
Right.
Depending on the message.
I promise it's not, they'll live in there forever, but I'm honestly like pig pen out of peanuts, you know, like I've always got something, but these aren't that old. You'll see that they're modern enough. They've got emojis, right?
I always think they could do a lot more with the messages on love hearts.
God,
I quite like the job of like just married.
I'll take another one. That's bullshit. Or maybe that's what they're. Oh, actually, I've just seen that.
Are they all? Oh, they're all just married.
I've just seen it.
Hey, like, it still tastes good.
I know they do.
Even
Right.
if I'm not.
they've gone right down in my estimations of what. I was appalled when I saw them with emojis, and I've changed my mind. Emojis are great. Right, we're recording. What time is it on your? Can we check your?
Basically 5. Oh
Perfect.
no! Wait a minute. Is that on the photograph? No, that's real.
Right.
Yeah.
5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And can we use your? And that's 3 minutes past. Right. So I'm going to aim to record for about 40 to 45 minutes, if that's okay.
Yeah.
And that must sound like torture, but I promise.
That's fine.
I promise. And look at us. Now I feel, where are we going to sit? Do you think we? How's that?
If I lean in like that.
You're good. You're good.
Yeah.
Right. Happy?
Yeah.
Somebody's going to come to the door now. I was doing one of these in Stirling at the Golden Lion Hotel.
Oh, nice.
At bloody Scotland, and Linwood Barclay, the American author, just swaned in. He's like, sorry. I was like, sit down and join the podcast. It's like a rule. If you come into the room, you're part of it.
I thought that about Michael. If he gets here early for the gig, I was like, you know more about who are these things than I do. And you'll be able to say
also,
more.
if he comes in, that's it. I'm half expecting him to swan in. Okay, so what I think what's lovely about this is we are chatting in the week that Virgin has been published.
Yeah.
And the tea time before you play a sold-out gig at Oran Moor. Glasgow's always like a bit of a homecoming for you, really, isn't it? Your roots run deep here, Hollie McNish.
Yeah, I love it. And I always come to Oran Moor as well. It's like my favourite venue to come to. They feed you as well. And I know that's not how you should, think of venues, but it's amazing when you're on tour. So, and Mac Arts as well in Galashiels, but Oran Moor feed you. And they're just so lovely. And my family all come. So I've got 5 family members coming tonight. And I don't normally have family at gigs. So it's sort of like...
How is that?
It's amazing because it's like 3 cousins, my auntie and my cousin's kid, which, basically my cousin as well. And it's really lovely to see them. It's a bit more nerve-wracking. And there's I question every time if I should change the set, and it's so silly because my youngest cousin is like 21, so she's totally fine, but I'm still like, oh, I don't know. But it's all of my cousins and auntie that I go on holiday with every year.
Yeah.
So
And
it's really nice.
And they're all from around here. I remember, it must have been a few years back, we did a Radio Scotland feature. We went to your granny's in Steps and I met your auntie.
Nice. Oh, she was so pleased about doing it as well, and it's so nice to have that as a memory now that she's not here anymore. Yeah, they're all from like basically like Christon and Muirhead and then Glasgow.
Yeah, and they feature so much in so many different ways in your poems and your stories around the poems, I think, as well. And in the way you've just seen the world, you know, and so much of that's been here on the ground in Glasgow and with the patter.
Yeah, it makes me feel, especially as like me and my brother were born in England and raised in England, and pretty much everyone else is born and brought up in Scotland. I feel like there's this like pride in having done so many gigs in Scotland and doing Scotland tours and coming to know all these Scottish men. I feel like it's like pushing me just a bit more. Not that I need to prove myself to my family, but I do kind of feel like that a wee bit.
Yeah, exactly. And such a beautiful room as well, up the stairs underneath the Alistair Gray mural. That day we went to your granny's. We went to the chippy you used to go to. And we also went to Hogganfield Loch. And I loved your memories of roller skating around there. And you'd said, like, when you were a little girl, you know, really, you didn't have any wishes or dreams to be a writer or to be a poet. You really wanted a job where you could roller skate, which fair dues, by the way, did we all?
I did. Even at, to be honest, when I was like, I think it's 15 at school that you get or at my school anyway, you got like to chat to a teacher about careers advice. And I was doing really well in school. And they were sort of pushing me into, I think I got like librarian or going and doing languages. And I really wanted to be a roller skating waitress, which I still think is obviously it's a very hard job and a great job. But I saw them on holiday one year, these women on roller skates. And I just thought, I can't believe you can chat to people all day and you can eat. And you get to roller skate.
I mean, even now that seems extremely exotic.
Yeah, to be honest. And if the pay was better, I'd love them to get paid better. Then maybe.
You know, the roller skating waitress thing puts me in mind of an advert that I was clearly obsessed with in the 1980s, and it was the Martini Girls. It was a martini advert. Okay, yeah, because I'm a bit older than you, a bit. Let's just say that. So there was this advert, and we didn't even. My mum had this really dodgy black and white telly, but in my mind, this was all in absolute technicolor.
That's
so there was this kind of a jingle, and basically it was these women on roller skates serving martinis. Now I didn't really know what it was, but around about the time, so from about the age of 9, I used to make this kind of fanzine for the local street, the Causeway Head Blab. And I found it recently, and it's covered in adverts for alcohol. It's got martini everywhere. Martini, it's there to be discovered. And it was because of the Martini Girls. It was because of roller skates and cocktails.
The thing is, those things are glamorized, aren't they? Because, like, I think I went to a place quite recently that had that, and I was thinking, I remember being a waitress, like, it was hard work and there was a lot of like men creeping on you. And I feel like even more so with stuff like that. But when you're younger, it's really advertised to you as like the best possible thing.
Totally.
Yeah.
No wonder you weren't thinking, I mean, if you had roller skates in mind, it's a bit like, you know, when you're a kid, you weren't dreaming about being a writer, but also you already were a writer. You already were writing, really, weren't you? So it's like you do that already.
Yeah. And also it's not, you know, you have these ideas of jobs, don't you? Or a lot of people do. And if you're not surrounded by people doing certain jobs, you just don't think about it.
Totally.
And my family's jobs are all very practical and very important. Yeah, my family's jobs are all very practical and I think very important. Either like sort of there's like a business side to the family and they've got bathroom company in your head and a lot of them work with that. And my dad's up computer, mum was a nurse and gran was a teacher, clothing salesman, all this sort of other grandparents had a grocery store and a post office. So the idea of like especially poetry, I think writing other things, I sort of read stories and just didn't think about it, but I love it. Love it.
But also the thing is about your writing from very, very early on, it was powerful as well. You were wielding a power because wasn't it an early poem and it was about the fact you couldn't get a pet cat, and it was kind of like you were making your point heard loud and clear, were you not?
Or I was making it heard clear to myself, but I didn't actually give it to anyone. I think that's the main thing with my writing. Since I was a kid, I've been writing these poems, but they're sort of don't know if you'd call it passive aggressive, but it's sort of like, I don't want to make a fuss, but I'm absolutely fuming, but I'm not really like that sort of person that wants to have an argument. So that poem, like I wrote it, and my mum found it when I was like 19, but it would just insulted my entire family, rhyming it with the word cat. And then I had a poem at the same age about litter picking and wishing like the world was like nicer. But I think that was one that was written for school, whereas the ones that were written like thinking no one would read them, to be honest, full of swearing as well. So I don't know who was, I think it's my dad in my family, but we definitely had, I definitely knew quite a few swear words by the age of 8.
Yeah, well, you were experimenting with language. So
I'll blame my dad. My mum's pretty polite. My dad's the swearer.
So over the years, certainly we spoke, as I say, I think that was quite a few interviews in as well. We've spoken about slug, plum, lobster among the titles, and now we have virgin. Just the 6 letters, but what an overloaded word. Yeah.
So it's the first book I think I've done, which is properly honing it in.
Product placement if you're watching on YouTube.
Yeah, great. Mine's already tattered after like a week. But yeah, normally I've tried to make all my books quite like gender neutral. Tried to like welcome men in to my gigs and to the readings and to the books and stuff. And but with this one, although obviously the idea of virginity affects everyone, I think there's more of a shame often pushed on girls and women, not always, but often. And I was trying to think of a sort of, I don't know, less embarrassing title, I guess. And then I thought, well, that's the point of it, isn't it? The whole book.
You're perpetuating it in a way.
Exactly, exactly. And I thought I've done enough to try and welcome like everyone into my books. But this is, I can't believe, just thinking back, I can't believe that we're still going with this idea that you're like born with this thing, virginity, or you're a virgin, and like it's the only thing that we're told, that your whole status as a human being changes, and the only experience in your whole life in this body is the first, I don't know what the rules are, 2 seconds of intercourse or other penetration or abuse as well, like that, which like my first time having intercourse was like funny and it was really nice, but still this idea that I'd now lost something or changed or whatever was still like sort of etched into my head. And the idea, I guess a lot of it comes from if that is a traumatic experience, then it is so much worse, like it goes from ridiculous to being totally dangerous. But there's lots of love poems in it as well. There's lots about sort of shame, myths, laws, and then lots and lots of love.
Yeah, a lot of making love, but we'll come to that.
Making love.
I struggle with that phrase as well. Okay,
me too.
That may be the first time I've ever said it.
Oh, really? I struggle with it as well. And to be honest, I've done 5 gigs now on tour, and the whole reason I've called every poem in the section "Making Love" is for me to practice saying it.
Yeah, it's
so
like
that I don't find it annoying anymore.
It's like exposure therapy. I think there's 19 different poems or thereabouts.
Yeah, that have all got the title "Making Love." I'm gonna be on it by the end of it. I'll be fine.
But it is, it's a revelation. You're absolutely right, though. It looks at all the possibilities, losing something, saving yourself, right? All these ideas predicated on this kind of concept, this construct of virginity. But you start, of course, with the Virgin Mary as well. We have this character. You say she was the most famous mum I knew, besides Tina Turner.
I love Tina
Turner. I put them both on a pedestal.
I was obsessed with the Tina Turner movie, and I was obsessed with her music. Oh, she's just amazing. But the Virgin Mary was also very, very famous. A very famous mum.
This also goes back to the roots of your poetry and the fact that I think it's your very first reading you mentioned within the book, or it's certainly early on. You are welcomed onto the stage by the organiser, who refers to you as a poetry virgin.
Yeah, he did refer. Like everyone that hadn't read before was referred to as a poetry virgin, and everyone gave you an extra clap. Which, to be honest, I like. I like that idea that like virginity is just, or being a virgin or whatever, being virgin at something is just like you're inexperienced in something.
Yeah.
Like everything, like there's so much stuff that you're still inexperienced at, and all it is either gaining experience or gaining some of those horrendous and some of those lovely, but it's like one experience in the whole spectrum of life, and it is being given this just horrendous, like obsessive importance. It's incredible that it's still a thing. It amazes me when words have, but like in the last books as well, I was quite obsessed with it. Words that have so much power that you can't even say them, or you they're just sort of scribbled into your skin, really, that
Yeah.
you start to think that they're real. I guess it's the same with race.
Quite.
Like the invention of race is like, come on,
Yeah.
it's such a myth that you've
Mhm.
invented this in order to use it to basically treat people like crap
Yeah.
and divide people. And it's really similar to me.
Yeah.
That
And horrify people about themselves.
horrify
right?
people and divide people and target people and be able to make laws like pushing people out. And yeah, it's just such similar things that have been done by people who've invented these concepts and then just used them for their own gain.
Absolutely. Now, this could be and is utterly enraging, but the point is we need hope as well.
Yeah,
and that
I'm really
leads
hopeful
us,
person.
okay, and that absolutely shines through the book and very much leads us to the album. Before you tell us the album you've chosen, we're having this imaginary afternoon or evening Chez McNish. And you're going to choose as a Scottish movie to chat about, and a Scottish book for some bedtime reading. We'll obviously talk more about Virgin throughout as well. But to start with, we're having a party. I like that you drank a little sip of your water from our Prosecco glass there, by the way, to get in the mood.
Yeah, I only have fancy glasses. I don't ever drink out anything else.
Quite
They're all my
right.
granny's old glasses, and
It's perfect.
everything, my water in the morning, and anything
It's
is
the
out of my
ceremony.
granny's fancy glasses.
It's a ceremony.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you've chosen us an album and a performer as well. I'll let you tell us what it is, but suffice to say, this woman is an absolute legend.
She's an absolute legend. So it's Garbage's latest album, and it's called Let All That We Imagine Be the Light. And it's not that I love it more than the other albums, but I do love it. But at the moment, it is the album, and Garbage the band, but particularly Shirley Manson. I feel like she has changed my life recently, and this album has changed my life. And I guess a lot of people is constantly referring to stuff that they listened to when they were a teenager, and there's this idea of my daughter asked me the other day, what was the music like in your days? And it's like, I'm not dead. I'm not dead. There's new music being made all the time.
That's so true.
Really can't stand that phrase. It's so weird. It's like, what age do you think that I can't start referring to music from? You have to stop listening to music when you're 25.
Absolutely fascinating.
It's
in
weird,
your
isn't it?
days, I mean,
In
there
your
is an
days.
understanding, of course, music is hugely powerful for so many of us as teenagers for many reasons, but it doesn't stop. It
doesn't. And actually, I think now, and the reason that I chose Shirley as well, is because I think for so long, people, men as well, but women in particular, were pushed out of TV, the media, music industry when they, I guess, hit 30 even. It's so young. Yeah. And to now see way more women in films and way more women in TV and way more women in music, I didn't realise how much I needed it, I guess, or how much I didn't have it when I was growing up. And I had quite a lot of people in my family that were quite dismissive of older women or women they didn't find attractive, or just women talking about being a woman. It was like, oh, here come the girls. Oh, the women are talking again. Oh, God. That sort of very dismissive attitude. And this album, not only the music, it is amazing. The track 2, I think, is maybe my favourite, Cold Hold, but some of the lyrics in it, I've never heard somebody say, and I can't remember the but it's what the fuck are you talking about? It's how dare you talk to me like that? And I guess the idea of getting experience, this idea that you get better and better at something.
Quite.
But the music industry for years just cut that. As you're getting better, and to be honest, quite a lot of people I notice in their late 20s start to sack management that were making them wear certain things or do certain things. Yeah. And now, once they get past that, even Little Mix I watched with my daughter, and then when they started doing a lot of their own songs, the words are very different, the opinions are very different, and hearing Shirley Manson just say on a record, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, I'm getting older, you think I shouldn't sing? This is what I do. Quite. It's my whole career. I'm the idea that people just should stop. No other business, you don't do that. You don't say to an architect, now you're 28, probably not going to design this good, but no one says it to anyone else, really,
particularly not to men. And this is the thing, all right, because I think there's the other thing within that song, Chinese Firehorse, which I believe Shirley is as well, right? And it's amazing. It's I've still got the power, you say my time is over, that you think that I have gotten old, but it's also you think I'm too ambitious, right? There are all these like, don't get above your station here.
Yeah.
And this idea that particularly, you know, a woman in the music industry, bearing in mind, I think Shirley was in her late 20s by the time Garbage even started, right? She's already quite radical in that way.
And in a really male-dominated field.
Completely, So but also it's such an absolutely banging record as well. Like, I think there's anger, but there's real joy as well. I think that absolutely, let all that we imagine be, the light is perfect. I think that comes from the song Radical. And just the idea within it that it hope is a radical act. And art that is hopeful can be a radical act.
And being so positive about change and politics and war and love as well. And there are so much mentions in like loads of different songs of the body, just like brief mentions of the body. And I kind of love it, alongside the fact that she does so many interviews about this stuff as well. But she also talks about like the operations that she's having.
Yeah, quite.
Like hip replacements that she's having. She'll do a video about that and then sing about that. And it's like the idea of that being in any way in like an album like this, it just blows my mind. It's also the sort of music that I love putting on an album and just lying on the floor. Like, I don't have a lot of space in my house, so if I lie down, I'm pretty much from one side of the room to the other. Just lying on the floor and listening to the whole album, and this is really one to do that with.
But oh my God, do you know what? It's about taking up that space.
Yeah.
Right? On the stage, on your floor, in the songs, in your words. That is vital. And she makes that possible. And certainly whenever I've seen her live as well, blows me away. You know, as a performer, she's unreal.
She's unreal. And that is also another reason I chose this, because I went to see her in Barcelona. And I'm lucky enough to have a job that I organise all my own tours. And quite often, because I organise them so far in advance, I look at where bands that I would love to see a play in. And I've done it with a comedian in Brighton this year that Kai Kurd's playing, and so I've asked the same theatre if I can do the day after so that I can go and watch him. And with Barcelona, I booked a gig with Michael Pedersen, which was going to be the day after. Basically, so the gig kind of pays for us to go over for this trip, and went and saw her. And I realised it was the first time I think I'd seen, a woman maybe over 35 even, standing on stage. And in my head, it had been so drummed into my head that I just realized that no one will listen to you as a woman after a certain age. And I didn't think it was still in my head, because obviously I'm like in my 40s and I'm doing this, and you know, it's not true. But it was like the idea of virginity, it's not true, but I'm still there. And I think to see this like crowded room of like about 50% guys and women just absolutely loving her and screaming for her was a vision that I was really brought up thinking just wasn't a thing that happened in the world. And I sobbed. I was with my friend Kat, and she's a massive Garb fan and has been for way longer than me.
Legend as well.
And I cried the whole way through because I was like, of course, not everyone is like some sort of sexist arse that is going to say, well, what's the point of watching a woman over a certain age? But I just had it drummed into me by society, and I was like literally sobbing while I was dancing.
And the thing is, you're saying over a certain age, but for so many people,
it's young.
I think
the
it's
age
still
is
over,
young.
You're saying even you and my family, older women, it's like we're talking over 30.
Oh no,
We're
I'm not.
kids.
And also we're talking really at the age like 25, what is when your brain's meant to be an actual adult.
Quite.
And at the age, I think of things that people tried to make me do, even in poetry, like wear certain clothes, or there was some Channel 4 producer that they wanted us to do a poem together, me and another poet. I won't say her name because she doesn't want me to, but like we got to the final commissioner and he said, he thinks this would be better if we were both naked with like the words of the poems on our bodies, and then just said no to it unless we did it. So then we had to start the whole process again. And I thought, do you know what? I was like nearly 30 at the time, and I thought, so what if you're like a 16-year-old, 17, 18-year-old?
I'm literally speechless.
You're
and that doesn't happen very often.
It's shy. It's so shy. And thinking, even wearing certain things, what's your brand? People get, I was like, the poems. People, what's your brand? What's your brand? It's like, it's so,
And it shouldn't have to be a fight, right? It's the thing about it, right? That's
and
the
everyone's
thing.
waiting for you, and you're pissing people off, and you're annoying people. Yeah, there's so much pressure. It just like I didn't know I needed to see Shirley Manson live, but I really did still need to see her.
And to hear the words that are on this record,
totally.
I think that's so true. And you mentioned, the body, and this little body of mine is going to make things right.
So
right?
lovely. That's
But what I love about that is,
song.
Saying this little body of mine, but that's not a child's body, right? That's a woman's strong, powerful body.
Yes,
and
it's little because there's so many of us.
Exactly.
I think it's so I think it's quite a humble word, little. There, it's like just my one little body.
It's not diminishing anything.
No, it's not. It's so nice.
Yeah, exactly. But you do also mention within the book that idea of little bodies, and also sometimes again being conditioned into thinking that or speaking in a certain way. You see, your daughter pulled you up, in fact, right? Tell us about this.
Yeah,
she's 8 at the time.
Yeah, she was 8 at the time. There's a poem in the book that's called Grown Woman Speaking Like a Baby Alert. And I think a lot of people do it. And I'm sure some guys do it. But I think like this idea of losing my girliness was jumping. Oh, don't lose your girliness. Don't become too... I don't know, knowledgeable, adult. And I was talking to my boss, who was a guy about 15 years older than me, 10 to 15 years older than me. And my daughter was about 8 at the time. And I must have been, talking a certain way and like, oh yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah. And she'd obviously known me as a mum, in which case I am very much in charge. I'm really, I'm the responsible one. Yeah. And she said really loudly, Mum, like interrupted our conversation and said, Mum, why are you speaking like a weird baby? And I was like, I don't know. I am. You're right. I'm like, I must have been like 32
out of the mouths of babes.
Seriously, and it was so true. I was like, oh my God, I do. And she pulled me up. She kept pulling me up on it all the time. She's like, Mum, you're doing that thing again.
Yeah, that's your fans at the door.
Yeah, that'll be my auntie.
But yeah, actually, so she could hear it even when you couldn't.
Yeah, she could hear it when I couldn't. And I was like, oh yeah. And it's not, I think there's such a thing of like I've been told, oh, it's a bit serious, or do you think you're losing your humour? Oh my God, the idea of not having a sense of humour if you don't laugh at jokes that you find racist or sexist, or you're becoming too serious, as if I love comedy, and I love going to see like Kevin Bridges. I've seen a couple of times, and it's like he doesn't take the piss out of people. Yeah, quite. He's just funny. Like the idea that you have to put other people down or diminish yourself in order to still have laugh, or people saying, which you get online. I think it's just the idea of stopping listening to, I'd say it's about 7% of men in the world. The rest, great. Yeah. And there's a few women, but it's mainly the guys that have been like, oh my God, you lost your sense of humor. Oh, you're so serious. Oh, what a dull life you must have. All that sort of shit when you talk seriously about anything. Yeah. And it's actually like, oh, I think it's you that loads of us have been listening to. And even this idea of like, oh, you're unattractive if you're serious. Like, no, I'm not. Yeah. Like, I'm not to every friend I've got. I'm not to the vast majority. And also that shouldn't matter. But I don't mean just unattractive, like sexually. I mean like people won't want to be your friend, or it's annoying or whatever. It's this. It is a minority. Yeah, but of certain guys, but they're so fucking loud, man.
Exactly, the sound of their voices, and unfortunately, the depth they can, hit. Yeah, and is it's quite hard to get over sometimes.
I think so, and I think a lot. I went back and looked at all the movies that I'd watched as a sort of teenager and young person, and like about 97% of them were written by guys, and it wasn't just the fact that they're written by guys, but a lot of them were written or directed by guys who are now in prison, or they're like dead. Yeah. Because of like sexual assault and all these different offences. So it's not that they were written by men, it's that they were written by these particular type of men. So I think it's so powerful when you sort of realise, I guess I'm not trying to refer to it, but you realise all these like myths and all this shame has been like created for a reason for you, and actually it's hard not to listen to it, but I think it takes going to like a garbage concert and watching Shirley Manson on stage to be like, no, it's definitely a load of shit.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it. And you can shout about it while still bringing light.
Yes, and be absolutely fucking brilliant. Of course she's brilliant. She's an absolute professional musician. Why on earth wouldn't she still be brilliant? Yeah,
I think she's getting better and better. Honestly, I just think I can't get enough of her. She's doing more stuff with Angelfish as well. So obviously, it's like, right, okay, I'm just going to keep performing. I'm going to keep surprising people.
Totally lush as a person. I've met her a few times, and I was just like, You are.
Well,
lush.
I couldn't help noticing that on the
She's the
front
only
cover
quote on the
of
front. That's
Virgin.
true. Yeah.
This book is a stunning dedication to love over power. I mean, that's the album all over as well, isn't it?
Oh,
It's exactly
yeah.
that. McNish is a national treasure. Well, of course you are. That's absolutely true. Of course it is. But it's so absolutely true. And in that song we were talking about, the one that really, really digs deep on, give me a minute, hold on a fucking minute. In fact,
swearing is so
the
good
last
sometimes.
words, exactly. I'm not dead yet. I'm not dead. I'm not done. It's like, bloody hope not.
Yeah.
We need more of it. We need so much more of Shirley Manson. Okay, so if we were lying beside you, if there's enough space for two of us to be listening to that record, okay, and absolutely loving that record and singing the praises of Shirley, Michael Pedersen also chose Garbage Version 2.0.
He told me that, do you know? He was like, oh, actually, then I thought he'd chosen this album. And I was like, no, I really want to choose this one, but it was a different one.
But he also spoke about the poetry in the titles and the poetry and the lyrics. And yes, they're slogans, they're poems, they're all of that. You touched on looking at a lot of the films you watched as a kid.
Yeah.
And the fact that a lot of them were written and of course directed by men. You've chosen us. Let's move on to like the VHS player. Okay, we'll fast forward through the Martini adverts because they're obviously bad for us, right?
I think
we're too suggestible, Holly.
Yeah. And you can have fun on roller skates without having to, be maltreated as a waitress.
And it's fair to say the women portrayed in the Scottish movie you've chosen to show us on this particular night. On a different night, it might be a different movie.
Yeah.
On this night, women are definitely portrayed as something, and in fact anything other than roller skating waitresses or indeed cheerleaders.
Yeah.
But sport looms large, and we're back in Glasgow-ish.
Yeah, Glasgow-ish. Yeah, so the film I chose is Gregory's Girl. And as soon as I was asked to choose a film, it came into my head, a Scottish film. Mm-hmm. It came into my head because there were certain things, I guess, growing up in England that I think my family made sure that I saw that maybe they wouldn't have done. Like a lot of people that like move to a different country, they become like even more kind of like from that country, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Or in certain ways, not other ways, but like
you overcompensate.
I don't mean that they're more Scottish than people that live in Scotland still. I just mean, yes, you overcompensate. But I remember my mum loving this movie, and I remember it as the first like recommendation, also by my mum, because I feel like there was a lot of like my dad recommending music. My dad in a very much like this is the best song you'll ever hear, or this is the best band, in that way. And I think as a teenager I found that quite hard. I now listen to a lot of it, but at the time somebody telling you that their music is better, or music from this time is better, and your music is not as good is what you're sort of saying, it felt a bit like, well, fuck you, to be honest, because I'm listening to Miss Dynamite and I think it's as good as Bob Dylan and blah blah blah, whatever. And I'm going back now listening to a lot of my dad's stuff, but my mum, I remember she loved this movie, and was I made to watch it? Sort of made to watch it, but a few times, because I think it reminded both of them of their upbringing. And there are a few bits in the movie, like I recently rewatched it, and there are a few bits that I was like, oh, that is awful. Like there are a few, like there's one horrendous line about, oh, she's 10 but she's got a 13-year-old's body, which is said, and it's like made me want to vomit. And I thought, oh god, man, what is that? And that is not, I hate the idea, oh, it's in those days. No, it's not. Like anyone saying anything like that is a horrendous, whoever wrote that is like, nah. But I think at the time I probably missed that as a 11-year-old. But it was one of the first films I think I watched that passed that Bechdel test.
Yes.
When girls talk to each other. And I've actually realised that the 3 films that stuck with me as a very young kid are 3 of the only ones that did.
Oh, really?
And I didn't think about it, but like the Tina Turner film that I was obsessed with, even though it's really, really hard to watch, Dirty Dancing and Legally Blonde and Gregory's Girl.
Yeah.
Were 3 that I remembered for some reason and I really loved. And I rewatched quite a lot of stuff that I watched then, and actually there weren't any girls talking to other girls. And in Gregory's Girl, I was quite sporty at school, but I remember being told by a few women in my family, like older, like grandmas, like, not to do too much sport because boys don't. Obviously, it's all about what boys like. And actually, it was a load of. That's what annoys me as well. Like, it wasn't true.
Yeah.
Like, also, you shouldn't bother what the boys are wanting, but people want a bit. It's nice to be fancied. Like, people, you know, it's a nice feeling for someone to fancy you. But like, it wasn't true. Like, they didn't, you know, all this stuff. Oh, don't like. Or somebody told me I was doing too well at school. Boys wouldn't find that attractive. You know, boys won't find it attractive if you come back from a sports match. And it was all bollocks. Like, obviously, boys are all different. They're all attracted to different aspects, and hopefully not just the fact that I go red when I play netball or whatever. But I'd never seen such a normal looking movie
as Gregory's Girl.
Yeah, because most movies I watched were from the US, and people looked a bit different, or was a bit more sort of star-studded, or a bit more photoshopped and stuff as I got older. And just seeing these girls all helping each other out, and her being like the main Gregory's girl who he fancies doesn't fancy him, but her mate does. And I really thought there was going to be like drama between them. I remember watching it because all the magazines at that time, it was like Shakira hates Beyonce or whatever, just pushing this agenda. And I was like, oh, they're just normal. Like, that's what we're like at school. All right. And the little sister being so like clever and sort of telling her, and him being like, I also think it's so important. And I wish that awful line and just a couple other lines. There's a couple of the things that the teachers say about the girls, which I hate, but actually I feel like might have been put in for a reason, because let's be honest, things like that do happen, and it sort of highlights it a bit. But just having a film of teenage boys being so vulnerable as well, and teenage girls being vulnerable, but I do think often that is the case, that the girls actually are allowed to be a bit more emotionally intelligent and do support boys and do chat to their brothers about stuff. And there's boys and girls in the movie, which a lot of things at that age were being split into, like, this is film for girls, this is for boys. And just teenage boys being like, they don't have a clue what's going on. It is, and being all different. Like, it's so true. And I think we stopped that, and it all went a bit cheerleader or violent because it was a US, not the whole of the US, but those specific like Weinstein films or whatever.
Yeah, well, that was it. I mean, up till that point, really, the large majority of any films that were based in schools, and if it was in the UK, it was private schools.
Yes,
and it was
that's
posh
the other
kids,
thing, not
right?
state schools.
It was posh kids. It was something that was boarding schools, right?
Yes.
It's like completely, and same
as if they're the most fun.
Completely, as if they're the ones that count and should be made into art. And of course, in the States, you've got the cheerleaders, and you're so right. But the other thing is, even in Glasgow at this time, so we're kind of coming in from the early sort of 80s, depictions of masculinity in teenagers, especially in Glasgow. In the you had postcards, you had in music, you had bands kind of defying that macho, if you like, stereotype. But these vulnerable, gangly, daft boys, and their patter is awful, but it's also brilliant.
It's also brilliant and showing that, and also just like you say, seeing a state school, it was like Grange Hill. I don't know if but like seeing that, it was like, oh, it looks like my school, like my school's on it, and it is amazing seeing yourself, isn't it? Because there's this idea. I remember somebody saying that the reason so much stuff set in boarding schools, or a lot of kids in stories, their parents have died, they're orphan, or they've run away, or it's because to get adults out, it's easier to write a story about kids, isn't it? But it really annoyed me because I remember like meeting I went to private school for 2 years. The last 2 years of primary school, I got a scholarship to a private school, and then I went back to state school. So I went, 16 years to state school, 2 years to private school, and some people boarded then. And it was hard, man. A lot of them, like, there were fun bits, but a lot of them, missed their parents, had been sent away at like 8 years old. And I could not believe it. Like, if they wanted a hug, if they wanted to chat to someone, if they just wanted like peace and like safety away from bullying, I thought I've been made to feel like going to boarding school must be the best thing in the world. And I actually think it must be horrendous for a lot of people, and I know it is horrendous for a lot of people. And state schools are just out of the picture of literature, aren't they? And stuff, and it's amazing. And my mum used to do the thing where there's a scene where they lie on the ground and dance, and I love it because I think actually a boy like that, it would be, we don't have like set, apart from Michaeli, in it, we don't really, a lot of countries have like set dances, so it's not so embarrassing to just be plonked to a piece of music and have to dance. And I think having talked to a lot of much taller people than me, I love dancing, but I'm not seen on a dance floor. And I just think someone like Gregory, it would be a lot easier for you to lie on the ground and dance. Really nice. I love the scene, and when the world turns and it's like yeah, it's just lovely.
It is gorgeous. It is magical. I've spoken to, for the podcast alone, I've spoken to a few of the cast. Clare Grogan, Gregory's girl,
Nice.
you know, and she remembers that scene particularly fondly.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of like semi-improvised, and just the
Yeah.
magic of that. And Dave Anderson, who of course is, you know, the dad, is just like in the car and the driving instructor, and you know,
when he says, "I'll meet you in the kitchen, maybe we could chat." It made me feel better as well, because I watched it as a teenager, and now I'm a mum, and I'm like,
absolutely. So and the allowance for that improvisation. So when I was chatting to Dave, in fact, it was in Oran, it's not far off a year ago. He told me a bit where he basically had an afternoon to film all of his parts. It was nothing. Really? It was no time. He'd been at the pub. Bill Forsyth had asked him to get involved. And he had so little time that he hadn't really learned the names of everybody. So he's giving whatever it is, but there's a story. I'm terrible at remembering details, which is kind of a bit of a problem. But anyway, but he calls the guy in his car by the wrong name, you know, who he's given a driving lesson to. And he didn't mean to, but they left it in because they're like, yeah, that would be your character.
Oh, that was so funny.
Allow for accidents, allow for mistakes, quote unquote, right? Because they all bring something to it. And also,
so good to know that.
you know, so many people have chosen it as their favourite, but everyone gets something different out of it, but no one comes away forgetting it. Yeah. The dialogue as well is just superb.
It's amazing. And the lack of violence as well, I think. Like having, my mum and dad were both born and brought up in Glasgow, and I think so much of when you say to people that your parents are from Glasgow, it's either like, oh, really friendly, or oh, really dangerous place, or there's that sort of push for it to be stereotyped like that. So to have something that comes with these accents, set in a state school, not wealthy, but there's not that in it. It's just like really normal teenage life.
And no cheerleaders, but a bit of sport, and it's okay.
And no cheerleaders, which also is annoying because they're so strong. When I actually watched cheerleaders, not in the US film, I was like,
no messing.
You're like amazing gymnasts. And all I've been taught about is that you should be attracted to someone's dad. Yeah. Like, man, I got taught such a load of shit from movies, and I'm so annoyed about it.
But again, you raise a lot of it, or you reflect on a lot of it within Virgin in different ways, including, you know, there's one very, very short poem or riddle perhaps, and it's to do with, you know, the number of teenage mums compared to the number of teenage dads, you know, go figure. So in just a few lines, you know, you can say so much, or you can deliberate over pages and pages and pages. There's a practice page which is particularly
to just say no. Yeah, there's a whole, I wrote a poem about just how hard it is to say no, how easy it is when you're a toddler and then you're brought up to be polite.
Quite.
And I think that idea of politeness, I think that's why it annoys me when people pull me up on like swearing in poems. And maybe why I chose Michael Mullen's book as well, but like, you know, it's a part of language that I've been brought up with. I've got family members, my grand, my mum, they don't really swear, but I've got family members that really do. And it's not, my mum used to say to me, you don't swear in front of these people. And the idea that you can't have a nuance in your language, I've actually never been taught that. You know, the idea that you can't teach your kid to say that because then they might say it in this situation. It's like, well, just teach them. No, it doesn't always work, but I was like, I went round my mate's house, one of my mates, probably okay to be a bit rude for her parents. The other mate, do not even think about it. Don't go there. And I think, just that sort of language, and just it can be so creative, can't it? And I get the same in the, you know, Chinese fire horse. When she says, like, if without that word, and the practice page is just a page of no's, because I feel like, I hate that surface level politeness, because I think quite a lot of it covers up a lot of sexism, xenophobia, racism. People can be really polite and then absolutely horrendous, and other people can swear their tits off and be like the absolute kindest, most generous people.
So absolutely true. And it is about the possibilities of a word, for better or for worse, right? But what I would say is, and again, this goes to the album, and it certainly goes to Virgin, and we'll get onto your book shortly, it's using words as weapons for the good, right? It is that, isn't it? But it's also really playful, right? It's not heavy. There's loads of humour. Playful. And one of the things you absolutely delve into, always have done, but within Virgin, it's like, you know, it's that thing of how do you go about it? How do you read it? And a part of me just wanted to open up, have a page. I know quite a lot of the poems because obviously I love you performing them as well. But also I'm like, oh, here we go. It's the playing with the form. There are puzzles, there are spirals, there are poems that are reflections on and of themselves. And that's something that the poet, here comes somebody. So let's quickly get the book in. And then, because this person might join us, I don't know, I heard a voice. The book for our bedtime reading, after we've watched Gregory's Girl, you've chosen. And even the title poem from this particular book is in the shape of its form and of its name. Tell us what it is.
Oh, it's so nice. Look at it. I've got it as well.
It's gorgeous.
I'll hold it up as well. It's Michael Mullen's Goonie. And it is a relatively new poetry collection by, I think, I've just slapped my chest. I think...
I just slapped the microphone. We're getting very effusive about Michael Mullen. No wonder.
I think one of the best current poets in and coming out of Scotland. And there are loads of reasons I chose this. I've done lots of gigs with him. Not lots. I've done like 5 gigs with him. And he's just a joy to watch on stage. But also, I think his poetry has got the best of what people might call page poetry. I don't think there's like a, spoken poetry, page poetry as much as sometimes newspapers make out. I feel like it's quite linear. Some people write really for performance. Some people write shape poems that you could never read out in that shape. I think most people are, do both, somewhere in between. But I think he's such a good blend of both. And his language is flipping amazing. His metaphors are amazing, but they're also so good to hear the poems, so powerful, so rhythmical. And he covers, I guess it's that I love laughing, but I also think there is a lot of real shit stuff in the world, but I'm very hopeful. And I feel like this blends all of those things together in just so brilliantly. And even the title, Goonie, it's amazing. And it really reminds me of my grand, when I used to go and stay at my grand's house with my partner, because we weren't married. She wouldn't let us sleep in the same room. Like I already had a daughter with another guy. We had separated and but a new partner, I'm like 35, not allowed to sleep in the same room. And I remember putting on pajamas once. Sorry, this is about my grand, not about the book, but it's just, there's so much of this kind of thing.
There's so much about his family,
so much about his family, his aunties. It's amazing. But she said to me, "Oh, you can't wear pajamas. It's like a bit sort of slutty, or whatever the word was." She wouldn't have said slutty, like tarty, bit vulgar for a woman to wear pajamas. So she gave me this long, white, Victorian-looking goonie to wear, and it was totally see-through. And I thought, this is amazing. I'm not sure but it was amazing, and he is just brilliant.
That is absolutely wonderful. You've just reminded me, great. Actually. We'll get back to the book, but on my Auntie Mags, who is long dearly departed now, but on her 70th birthday, this is before we had kids, my husband and I ended up staying at her house in Alloa because every day I got too plastered, even though we were just in Stirling. We were like, right, back to Auntie Mags's wonderful wee house in Alloa. And John and I had been married for several years by this point, I presume. We'd certainly been together. Anyway, so she puts us in the spare room, and then she comes in and she's like, "There's no way you've not packed jammies." I was like, "I don't actually own any," but she's like, "I'm not having that in my bed." So she went through to her bedroom, came through with this, head to toe Victorian night strip, pure white. Opened the door though. Opened it and went, "Get that on, dirty bitch." Closed the door, came back in and went, "I mean you, John." So he went to bed in the Victorian nightgown.
No, that's so great.
He's like, "She can be trusted, you can't." So it was like, I love that he was trying to be proper and then blow it. Yours was see-through negligee.
It was long. It was a long white cotton nighty, but it had a high, sort of. It was amazing.
At least John's Victorian night dress was entirely non-translucent.
That's so great. Well, mine was definitely translucent. It's one of the things I kept when she died, actually. One of those in a butter dish.
And the butter dish features in Virgin.
Yeah, it does.
But those stories and the characters and the language and the families.
Yes,
and
amazing.
The dances in Goonie, the Govan tap dancing. And there's another one about the slosh, like his language. dances around the page, on the page,
unreal,
off the page.
Yeah, and there's like an Iron Brew vodka that his aunt is drinking, but it's like funny, but the language is so well crafted.
Yeah,
I think that's like not the difference between but there's there's not a lot of poetry that is so specific with language at the same time, or uses so much metaphor. But he's I'm not going to take credit for this. I was talking to Michael Pedersen about this collection, and he was saying he's one of the first people published on like a press based in London and not based in Scotland.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And it's one of, he thinks, maybe the most Scots language for years and years and years that's been published. And I'm not, but it's so often in Scotland they'll publish poetry written in Scots or written in various Scots dialects, but in their way of being quite London centric, it's not often the case with presses based in London. And I think that it maybe says something about London, but it also says something about the quality of this book for sure.
It is absolutely stunning.
They're still wanting to publish it, even though it's possible it's going to be harder to read for some people. It's going to be harder to read for an audience that isn't used to the tone of voice or the dialect or the language. It's just amazing. But there's also I think it's this poem. There's the poem Gay Voice, which one thing I love about Michael Miller, I've seen him interviewed, and somebody said, this is he said it's a bit like an album, like that he feels like it's a bit like an album. If he could play the guitar, he'd want to be a singer, not a poet. And that this is maybe his like first hit single. And then he said he was going to then say he felt a bit of a imposter syndrome, which is what so many people say, and I'm sure I've said it a lot. And he's like, but I don't. I think it's right. I think it's good. I love it. I love poetry, and I don't feel like an imposter. I think I deserve this. And I was like, the way that he said it, I was like, yeah, fair enough. Like, you do deserve it. You've been working on yourself. You've studied this stuff. You're like so into poetry. You've read so much other stuff. You've worked so hard on this collection, and to be like, oh, I don't. And I always said, oh, I don't. And I was like, oh, I love it. One of my other friends I was doing gigs with, she said, Laurie Bolger, she was like reading, and she said when she was doing the gig like last week, I'm going to read this poem because it's my favourite one in this collection. And even saying that you have a favourite of your own poems, I was like, what? But a load of people, of course you do, but I think there's that as well, that you are told not to sound arrogant, not to sound like there's the confidence, not to have confidence sometimes as a woman.
You're setting yourself up to fall.
Totally.
It's all of that. That mindset,
something like you're pleased, like you've worked so hard on something, you can't even admit that you're even slightly proud of it. But there's a poem in here which I guess sort of matches to Gregory's Girl a bit, but called Harvest. And I just think it's unbelievable about just boys disappearing through death, either by accident or through suicide. And it is such a tragic poem. Our little forever boys join in the nameless plague, and just so much pressure for all sorts of reasons on boys not being able to be who they are, be as emotional as they want to be, talk about the feelings, and just the effect of that. And I just think it's amazing. The whole collection is amazing, and there's lots of different styles of poems. I like it when there's a lot of like little short poems and different lengths and different layouts on the page. Like, it's quite fascinating to actually look at a lot of the poems and read it. It's just brilliant.
I think also, you can spend so much time with it because there is so much going on in there. And likewise with yours, even, you can read something, or you can, with a poem, there's so much to it, but also the shape of them, the feel of them, hearing them live, obviously, this coming to life on stage is something else. But I want to say, I think it's important to say that although this is the first one which has been, if you like, a little bit more gendered in as much as you're exploring ideas of virginity, and of course that tends to fall more heavily on women, of course. I don't think it's just for women to read, right? It's so much for men, in the same way that your books that have focused maybe more on pregnancy to some extent. It's like, you don't need to be that person, you don't need to be in that situation, you don't need to be that age, that gender, from that same place to absolutely identify with it. I think that's really important
there's also loads of really gushing love poems about boys and men, and there's one about, like, there's a sort of double R where it's like women in the world of wolves and girls in the world of wolves and boys in the world of war. But this idea of like adolescence, and when you start your period, a lot of people telling you you're now a woman, which fills me with horror because it's obviously used legally to put people now into marriage or to whatever, trap people in their houses and all sorts of horrendous things. To say you're now a woman, you're open up to a lot of horrendous stuff, but also it's like the start of a biological process in which at the end of it you become a woman. And I hate, someone said that to me when I started my period, and I was like, I'm not a woman, I'm like 12. Like, I'm not a woman. I'm still like, that's ridiculous to say with this start of a process. And same with boys, the idea, I hate this, and you hear it a lot with the genocides, like women and children, like how many women and children have been murdered, and it's absolutely horrendous. But there's also men, and it's like, okay, so at what age does a young boy then is he's not innocent enough to be mourned over, or so that there's a lot that makes it sound not really upbeat, but it's I am really hopeful. I genuinely think that most people don't want a lot, and most people want peace, and and then there's I've decided 7% of the world is messing it up.
I quite like this.
I think I've read quite a lot of different statistics on different horrendous things. I think 93% of people are absolutely lovely, or could be lovely, and then 7% are. I think you say within the book, most people just want love. They don't want power, right? We can have that as the kind of, I think, that's it.
And I would say, actually, I think that's something that absolutely resonates through everything, through Virgin, through that wonderful Garbage album, actually, absolutely through Gregory's Girl. No one's trying to win anything apart from maybe a date from, there's nothing
like
more than that.
Love it. It's like,
And absolutely within Goonie as well. So I've decided we better wind up, because you've got to go and play a sold out Oran more and read all these wonderful poems. But I've just thought of a little kind of final thing, because usually I ask what would our snack be or what would our drink be, but I'm going to say right now, no martini girls for us anymore, Hollie McNish.
I like the girls, it's just maybe
absolutely no roller skating waitresses. I mean, I'm into them, but we don't need them. I'll tell you why. Whether they're on roller skates or not, whether it's girls, boys, or whoever, vodka and brew. Okay. In absolute honour of Michael Mullen's wonderful family.
Perfect.
In the poems.
I did serve that as well at the last Burns night.
Yeah, well, that's
I
it.
made
That's our drink.
cocktails.
And we can have another love heart now, because we're going to wind up. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Great
thank
to
you.
Speak to
Thank you.
you.
It's been so nice. It's been so nice to choose different things to look at again, read again, watch again.
Yeah, me too. The glorious Hollie McNish there. Thank you so much to Oran Moore in Glasgow for having us. That was ahead of a sold out show at the venue last night. You can catch Hollie on tour in Scotland all of this week. You must. She's amazing. She's at Toppings in St Andrews this evening. That's Monday, October the 20th. And then there are dates at Dunkeld Burnham Arts tomorrow, Tuesday. Galashiels Mac Arts on Wednesday, and Edinburgh's Portobello Town Hall on Thursday. She's also playing a special event as part of this year's excellent Push the Boat Out Poetry Festival. That's at the Fingal Ship in Edinburgh. I haven't been. Sounds awesome. That's on November the 8th with Michael Pedersen. Virgin is out now, as is Michael Mullen's Goonie, as is Garbage's thrilling Let All That We Imagine Be the Light. And Gregory's Girl is streaming everywhere. You can probably even get it on VHS if you look hard enough, all those second-hand record shops. You can listen back to previous episodes of A Kick Up the Arts with Michael Pedersen sharing his love of Garbage, with King Creosote and Val McDermid sharing their love of Gregory's Girl, and with stars of that very film, Clare Grogan and Dave Anderson, waxing lyrical and all sorts of stuff. Just listen. And don't forget, I would love you to join us for a live show. There is chat and live music. I think this is going to be so special, with Emma Pollock, Amy Duncan and Joe Mango. That's at the Scottish Mental Health Arts Festival, Glasgow Civic House, this coming Thursday, 23rd of October. And then I'm joined by actor, comedian and still game favourite Sanjeev Kohli. That's in a few weeks. The Stand in Glasgow, the afternoon of November the 13th. And Teenage Fanclub's Norman Blake is going to be in conversation and playing live. I can't wait. That's at the same venue, The Stand in Glasgow, on the afternoon of December the 11th. There's more to come. Come to them all. There's tickets, there are discounts, and there's even information at kickupthearts.org. I've got more events coming up in Scotland and London with guests including Irvine Welsh, John Niven, the Witches of Scotland, and my recent podcast guest Gordon Buchanan. We are joining forces once more. I'll tell you more about that very soon. For now though, thank you for watching, for listening. I would love you to sign up for the newsletter, get tickets, get in touch, say hello, whatever, via kickupthearts.org. And buy Virgin and read every word.